You're listening to the Monday Night Community Show with Daniel on BRFM.
This is the Daniel Monday Night Community Show on demand through YouTube. Thank you very much for choosing to listen to us through this method. If you'd like to keep up to date with when I add new interviews, then subscribe to this channel.
What do you want, Frank?
You placed yourself in my debt. Those in authority, from my experience, don't do that with the staff as a general rule. You did it. So you could insist I take the day off. That made it look like I knew in advance. Janice here, Mrs. Gradwell, has anyone ever seen Mr. Gradwell? Gave out the impression of being a gossipy bimbo at the service of the manager. But in truth, you were the one that knew it all.
Is that what you think?
Whenever I was on duty in the bank, you came over and talked to me.
Maybe I was just being friendly.
I'm on duty in the foyer. You come over, I go to lunch, you follow me out of the building. I don't believe you have a crush on me. That, I know, is where Mr. O'Donnell comes in.
Perhaps I was just making conversation.
You wanted to be able to say, and say it honestly, if asked in the future, that I did know the true position of the bank's finances. That is why you made sure you told me all the tittle-tattle of Mr. O'Donnell meeting with Mr. Dickinson. I didn't know if what you told me was true. I only knew that you did tell me the version that you wanted me to hear.
Frank, I don't know where you think you're going with this.
I know that someone in this room is probably gonna go to jail because of yesterday's heist of the bank. Questions are, who and why?
What do you mean, Frank?
I may have been the low guy around here, the one that lost everything on the last banking crisis, and haven't there been quite a few of them? A cynic might even think they were engineered, creating circumstances just to keep the workers working, while all the time allowing those on Wall Street to retire early and enjoy their yachts off Santa Barbara. However, here's the thing about being at the bottom of any company. No one that thinks they are anything in the hierarchy ever registers the presence of those beneath them. They speak past you and completely ignore you. So in the end, they don't even think they've told you anything, while all the time they believe we all have closed ears.
What is it that you want, Frank?
Witnesses, I heard according to the local TV this morning, reported the robbers leaving with 2 medium-sized sports bags.
Go on.
$1 million? If the notes were $100 bills, you might be able to fit that into a couple of sports bags.
So?
But $20 million? How did they run out of the bank with the rest? But the press already have the story of $20 million. The very $20 million Mr. Dickinson told you, Mr. O'Donnell, you'd need to remain the big man in this town and keep the branch open after the debacle of the subprime housing catastrophe. Is that an insurance claim form you're filling out there, Mr. O'Donnell? It wouldn't be for $20 million, would it?
What is it that you want?
Half.
Go to hell.
Janice! The police will have a dozen bank jobs over the next couple of months. It's the insurance company that will investigate the deepest. If they have any grounds to be suspicious, they won't pay out.
That money has to be accounted for. It's the banks.
The vaults are empty, Janice. The robbers must have known because they never said anything and only carried 2 small bags that couldn't possibly contain anything other than the impression of a robbery.
What? What do you know about anything? You're only a security guard.
I am a security guard. That is true, Janice, and I claim to be no more than that.
You think we were wrong? It's only our actions that will save all the little people from leaving the real estate they think they own, as if anyone could ever own land. Tunbridge Carter doesn't care. All they want is the land back so they can resell it and profit. If it wasn't for Peter here, this town would be finished. Don't you dare judge us, Frank Brown. We're the only ones doing what is right. Because of yesterday, this pitiful little town will survive. It doesn't deserve to, but it will. And here's the joke, Frank. Here's the moment of humor, if you like. Those out there, those that think we are all like those on Wall Street, will be able to close their eyes at night in the full ignorance of what we have done, so they can continue to dream the dream of real estate ownership rather than face the truth.
Which is?
We've saved them from themselves. Those that got into debt through their own greed, those that refused to recognize a financial trap even when it was completely laid out for them. Those that refused to walk away from the roulette table even when it was their family's futures they were betting with. Peter has done more for this community than they will ever know. And you, Frank, what have you done? Look at you, still working at your age. If you were a real man, you'd have got out years ago. But you know what? You'll be standing guard in the foyer until they drag you out to the incinerator. A reflection of a bygone time. Unlike all things old, they die out.
Janice, it's an act. And I was never fooled.
What?
You joined the bank 5 years ago, and I still remember seeing your job application.
So?
Before you joined Tunbridge Carter, you worked for an insurance company called, let me see if I can recall, Pembroke Insurance. The FDIC do not cover banks against armed robbery. Only personal accounts to the tune of $250,000. For that kind of insurance, Tunbridge Carter had to find another company. They chose Pembroke Insurance, your old employer.
So?
Before getting into insurance, Pembroke used to be Pembroke Savings and Loan. I had money in them. Then one day, I didn't. That's how I came to be here.
I see.
Insurance works on knowing the odds. That's how they know what to charge. Security guards also have to know the odds.
Meaning?
80% of money taken in bank robberies is never recovered. The average amount is only about $4,000. 6% of convenience stores are robbed compared to only 2% of banks. My guess is you calculated that Pembroke will have factored in the cost of at least one large payout per year, saying they're doing their bit for the local community, and then simply look at this as the price of doing business. After all, that's what crime is, business via other means.
You idiot, Peter! That was my way out of this forgotten little town.
You mean our way out? Surely, Janice.
Oh, you...
Stealing from the bank just to keep the bank solvent. And who did you get to be the bank robbers? Moving that fast on their feet, certainly faster than the likes of me, wouldn't have been your hard-up nephews, would it? I wonder what they'll say when they find themselves in an interview room facing a jail sentence.
I hate you!
You may have to cover your tracks there. Don't know how you're going to do that.
You think you're so clever, don't you?
No, Janice. I just know that the more desperate people become, the more they take risks. And no one's luck lasts forever. Now, I'm meeting with the FBI in the next hour. Do we have an agreement? What should I say to the G-Man? So, Mr. Jones, you think I arranged all this?
You do seem to be the most obvious suspect.
Maybe you are correct, or maybe half correct. Or maybe let us suppose that your facts are right, but your interpretation is wrong.
Then perhaps you could explain to me exactly where you think I've got it wrong.
I was off that day because I was sick. I went to the store, got some vitamins, and stayed home. As for the bank's financial position, since when does a company like Tunbridge Carter tell the likes of me anything? Informing me of the economic position of the company? I mean, what do you think? Is Janice your source for this? You know she believes in aliens, don't you? Bigfoot, the story of Atlantis. You know she's also having an affair with the manager, Peter O'Donnell. Oh, please tell me you know all that, because you'd look pretty foolish if you didn't. You didn't know she'd do anything to defend his position to those at head office and his reputation as an upstanding member of the local community, and to defend him from any scandal that his wife might hear of. Oh, I'm sure you understand.
And your illness on the day of the robbery?
Yeah, all right. Here is the receipt for a couple of bottles of vitamins from the local store, which I also know has a CCTV camera just behind the counter. Now, see if you can find my image on it.
And your wife's medical bills? How are you going to cover those if there's no extra income? She may be dead, but medical insurance companies still want their pound of flesh.
You really have been listening to Janice far too much. My wife died 12 years ago. With the S&L scandal, my wife developed cancer. We lost the house. More importantly, I lost her. That's when I should have robbed the bank, because that might have saved a life. Now, I wouldn't care if you gave me all the gold in the Federal Reserve, assuming there's anything in the vault in the first place. If you can't use money for the good of people, what's its true value? I don't think robbing a bank for cash is worth the effort, Mr. Jones, when there are others that have robbed the people of so much more. Do you? Anything else? Anything you can actually prove, rather than trying to get me to incriminate myself?
No. Thank you for your time.
One last thing.
Oh? What?
Did you catch the robbers?
Keep it to yourself. We got a tip-off about an hour ago, giving us their hideout, correct location. Led us straight to them. They were waiting for us.
Oh, waiting for someone.
A shootout. Both suspects dead at the scene.
Yes, the informant must have known what he was doing.
Female voice. Called the local paper. Paper called us.
So, not recorded then?
No, not recorded.
Maybe the female knew then.
Maybe.
Like they say, female of the species.
Guess they do. You wouldn't know anything about that, would you, Frank?
Oh, Mr. Jones, I'm on the lowest rung of the ladder, remember?
In The Female of the Species, John Hines was Frank, Zig Staniaszek was Kyle, Vonda Dushinska was Janice, Paul Collins was Peter, Dan Martin was Clive, with Zach Benoit and Tom Cantwell as the bank robbers. Artwork for the production was by Sheila Jackson, and the play was written and directed by John Fryer. The Female of the Species is an audio production for Political Art.